The tiny puppy stood in the middle of the road, trembling, not from the cold, but from fear. Behind him, hidden beneath a broken wooden cart in an empty alley, his mother lay bleeding and barely breathing. Cars rushed past. Strangers ignored him. But the little puppy refused to move. Because if he moved, she might die. It had been a peaceful morning. The sun had barely risen over the quiet neighborhood when Daisy, a gentle brown mother dog with soft eyes and a scar on her ear, went searching for food. Her 3 tiny puppies, Max, Milo, and the smallest one, Toby, waited under the old wooden cart near an abandoned warehouse. Daisy was careful. She always was. Life on the streets had taught her that survival required patience and silence. But that morning, patience wasn't enough. As Daisy crossed the road toward a bakery that sometimes threw out scraps, a speeding motorcycle came around the corner. The driver never saw her. The sound of the impact echoed like thunder. Daisy's body rolled across the pavement. The motorcycle didn't stop. From across the street, 3 tiny cries pierced the air. Toby saw everything. Unlike his brothers, who cowered behind the cart, Toby stumbled forward on his shaky little legs. He was the smallest, the weakest, and often the hungriest. But in that moment, something bigger than fear filled his chest. He ran. His tiny paws slapped against the pavement as he reached his mother. Daisy tried to lift her head, but she couldn't. Her breathing was shallow. One of her legs was twisted unnaturally. She licked Toby's face softly, as if apologizing. Toby whined desperately. He nudged her. He barked, a high-pitched, desperate sound. But no one came. People passed by. Some slowed down. Some looked. A few whispered, "Poor dog." Then they walked away. The sun rose higher. Daisy's breathing grew weaker. Toby made a decision. If no one would come to them, he would find someone. The nearest police station was 6 blocks away. Toby had no idea what a police station was. But he had seen something before. 2 days earlier, while Daisy searched for food, a police car had parked near the bakery. An officer had stepped out and tossed a piece of bread toward the puppies. Toby remembered the uniform. The smell. The kindness. And so, with tears in his eyes and fear in every step, Toby ran toward the busy main road. Cars honked. Tires screeched. The tiny puppy dodged between wheels, nearly getting hit twice. Drivers shouted angrily. But Toby didn't stop. He reached the sidewalk, panting heavily. His small body wasn't built for such distance. His paws were already scraped and sore. Still, he kept going. He followed the memory of that scent. That blue and black car. That kind face. When he finally reached the police station gates, he collapsed for a moment, exhausted. 2 officers stood outside talking. Officer Daniel Harris, a tall man with tired eyes and a soft heart, noticed something move near his boots. He looked down. A tiny brown puppy stared up at him, eyes filled with desperation. "Hey there, little guy," Daniel said gently. Toby barked once. Then he grabbed the bottom of Daniel's pant leg with his tiny teeth and tugged. The other officer laughed. "Looks like you've got a fan." But Daniel didn't laugh. There was something urgent in that tug. Something pleading. Toby released the pant leg and ran a few steps away. Then he turned back and barked again. Daniel crouched down. "You want me to follow you?" Toby barked again and ran farther. Daniel stood up slowly. "I think he's trying to show us something." The other officer shrugged. "Probably wants food." But Daniel trusted his instincts. He grabbed his keys. "Let's check." Toby ran as fast as his tiny legs could carry him, constantly looking back to make sure Daniel was following. Daniel jogged behind him, curiosity turning into concern. They crossed streets, passed shops, turned corners. Finally, Toby led him to the alley. Daniel stopped in his tracks when he saw Daisy. Oh my God! She lay motionless under the cart, breathing faintly. Two other puppies huddled beside her, whimpering softly. Daniel immediately called for backup and animal rescue. He knelt beside Daisy carefully. It's okay, girl. We're here now. Toby ran to his mother and licked her face as if to say, I brought help. Within minutes, an animal rescue van arrived. The rescuers gently lifted Daisy onto a stretcher. She whimpered in pain, but her eyes stayed fixed on Toby. One rescuer looked at Daniel. If she hadn't been found soon, she wouldn't have made it. Daniel looked at the tiny puppy, now trembling with exhaustion. You saved her, he whispered. At the veterinary clinic, Daisy underwent emergency surgery. She had internal bleeding and a fractured leg. The procedure lasted hours. Toby and his brothers waited in a small crate nearby, under Daniel's watchful eye. Daniel couldn't leave. He didn't know why, but something about that puppy had touched him deeply. Maybe it was the bravery. Maybe it was the loyalty. Or maybe it was the reminder that love doesn't depend on size. After what felt like forever, the veterinarian finally came out. She's stable, she said with a tired smile. She's going to need time, but she'll survive. Daniel exhaled deeply. Toby barked excitedly, as if he understood. The story spread quickly. Tiny puppy saves mother by finding police became a headline in the local news. People were moved to tears watching the security footage of Toby tugging at Daniel's pants. Donations poured in. A local animal shelter offered to care for Daisy and her puppies until they recovered. But Daniel had already made a decision. He visited the shelter every single day. He watched Toby play, despite his scraped paws. He watched Daisy slowly regain strength, her tail wagging gently whenever she saw her brave little hero. One afternoon, Daniel signed the adoption papers. All 4 of them. When Daisy was finally strong enough to walk again, her leg healed but slightly stiff, Daniel brought them home. His once quiet house filled with tiny barks, playful chaos, and warmth he hadn't felt in years. Months later, Toby had grown, but he was still the smallest of the 3. Yet everyone in the neighborhood knew him. Children called him Officer Toby. Daniel sometimes laughed when Toby sat proudly beside him during neighborhood patrol events. But deep down, Daniel knew something powerful. That tiny puppy had done something extraordinary. He didn't know about courage. He didn't understand danger. He only understood love. And love gave him the strength to run through traffic, to face strangers, to fight exhaustion, to save his mother. One evening, as the sun set in soft shades of gold and pink, Daisy lay peacefully in the yard while her puppies played nearby. Toby rested his head on Daniel's shoe. Daniel looked down and smiled. You saved your family that day, he said softly. Toby wagged his tail. And in that quiet moment, Daniel realized something important. Heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes, they have tiny paws, trembling legs, and hearts bigger than the world.